accidental author and coming at you for our monthly interview. And I currently am sitting in a hotel room in LA, which is pretty amazing. And my guest this month is sitting in a room in San Francisco, and it's pretty cool. You know, I'm just really excited to be able to do this from anywhere in the world and meet people that are doing incredible stuff. So I'm going to very quickly introduce Danna Lewis, who's going to be our wonderful guest this month. So hi, Danna, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. This is so exciting. You've been all over, Andrew. You were here last week and now you're in LA. Okay.
So I guess it's a little bit of a background how I met Danna. Incredible how connections are made, and I met Danna through another connection that I got on LinkedIn and an introduction to Danna, and then all of a sudden I found myself in San Francisco last week, and together Danna and I ran a wellness event. Danna's an author of a book called The Indisputable Gift of Men, which we're going to talk about because that's an interesting title for a female to write. And, you know, she's doing amazing stuff. She truly is an inspiring lady. And I left San Francisco last week inspired to want to do more and be more. She has her own radio show. She speaks on stages all around the country. She coaches and leads and teaches people around better thinking and better health and well-being and a whole range of stuff. But I don't want to steal her thunder too much because she'll tell us more about what she does. But again, Danna, thank you so much for joining me today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. Yeah.
The first question, I just want to know, how did you get to where you are now? What about your background and your path to what you do next? I know you've had a very different background to the one you're living now. Tell us a bit about that transition.
So this is coming up more and more. Like, this just wants to be talked about from the space of, like, we all have had crazy lives, some of us, right? Traumatic things. And so for me, and this is in the first chapter of the book because I feel like it's just a required setup when I'm talking about, you know, the gift of men. So my childhood, a lot of domestic violence. So I grew up in a house where, you know, I was woken up in the middle of the night with, you know, hearing screams and violence and beatings, or my mom going off to a domestic violence shelter. When I was older, you know, I would be the one to call the police, which, you know, and it is horrendous. The reason I can talk about it in such a neutral tone is because I have done so much healing work, and it's this hands-on healing, the energy work that I've done that has to do with quantum physics, and that's what's allowed me to, and coaching and the gamut, right? Psychiatry, psychology, life coaching, hands-on, like I've done it all, and that's what inspired me. Was like, okay, I have to clear this trauma. I didn't have to, but I had made the demand to clear this trauma. In some ways, too, I guess reparent myself, and I just always knew that something different was possible. Not just for me, but this piece with relationships and men and women. It just, from a very early age, I just was this bright-eyed, romantic, like something else is possible. And that's what inspired me. And it's really actually turned into something very pragmatic. The romantic part's still there, but it really is the pragmatic personal leadership in a very conscious way of being in the world.
So you had a corporate career,
Mm-hmm.
didn't you? Tell us about, because I mean, a lot of the people watching this right now, they're looking to, how do I get out of my job or career or the life that I don't love, and how do I create something that I do love? And you've done that. So tell us a little bit about that transition. How did you move out of that full-time, and I know you were making good money in that corporate space, how did you then move out of it to now be full-time, you know, doing the stuff you're doing and really loving your life?
My caveat is, I don't know if I would recommend doing it the way I did it, because I tend to, when I look back on my life, I tend to do things like I leap, right? I'll just take things in like kind of the shock and initiation. And I think that just matches some of the intensity of my life and my energy. So for this, yeah, I had a corporate career for longer than I'd like to say, probably like 30 years. And there was a couple times during my career where I actually experienced burnout. And again, that just informed me and inspired me to learn new tools and find ways to navigate, because I'm also a very empathic and sensitive person, as a lot of people are. Like, how do you navigate the workspace? And so other than a kitten that runs around like a wild person, she's in terrible twos right now. Like, working from home works really well for me. And so in this last job, it just all came to a head. Like, it wasn't pretty. Like, when you feel like it's not a pretty story. Like, it just, the CEO and I was the CEO, like, we just had completely different leadership styles. We wanted to build completely different cultures. And again, I started getting burnt out again. I'm like, this does not work for me. Like, to be in a place where I'm not feeling appreciated and where I can really excel with my skills that I know that I have, and coach my team, which I love doing. So alongside of that, a publisher came to me. Other things started showing up that were just like, not even, they were like screaming at me like, you got to make a change here. So for some of us, that is how it shows up, right? Things get really loud in our world, and we sometimes are forced to make changes, or your body starts talking to you like mine did with the burnout starting to show up again. I'm like, nope, this isn't how it's going to be. So that's what kind of propelled me forward this time, to really choose this in a whole different way. And the book, which we can talk more about that, the book just, it was just pulling on me. It was like, now's the time to put this out in the world.
So irrespective, I mean, it takes a lot of courage to, you're saying that, your body was screaming at you and all this noise was happening and you sort of knew. But I think there's a lot of people in the world that have that same noise and that same pull, yet they ignore it. They stuff it down, and they force themselves to persist in something that they're not loving. So I think it takes a lot of courage to do what you did. So well done. I think that's inspiring, and I hope people watching this will take some inspiration and know that you take a step of faith. So you basically took a very large step of faith, and luckily you stood on something and you're able to keep walking, but you've got to take that first step.
You do. And for me, because I had already done so much of this consciousness work and coaching other people and being coached, and my foundational work is quantum physics, so I know that energy comes first, and the physical manifestation of whatever those energies are come after. So if I was already started, right, like I'm burnout was occurring or whatever that is for people, that means there's something physical occurring from the energies that are sitting there. So that, in some ways, like, hopefully that'll inspire people to make those choices. It's like the energy first, and when you're tapping into the energies of when things start shifting and changing, and like all of the great connections you had last week when you were here and our event, right? Something amazing is going to physically actualize from that. So yes, it takes a lot of faith, but I also was like, okay, I can tap into this and perceive.
Yeah.
What's being created.
So it was a calculated step as well. So it took faith.
Yeah, it is. It's being strategically aware of the energy and tapping into that and using that to create forward. That's exactly what it is.
Good. Well, okay, so let's talk about this book.
Yeah.
This really interested me, and I know when I first contacted you and we started talking about running an event, and then I saw your book that you launched, The Indisputable Gift of Men, and you're writing a book about men and how to love men, and I thought, wow, that's quite a unique concept being written by a female. Normally it's a book written how to cope with men, how to deal with men, how to put up with men, but I love the concept of your book. So tell us a bit about how that came about and what your plans are and what you want the book to achieve.
I love this book. I just love this book so much. So we talked about my beginning. So it could have been very easy for me to hate men, to do all these other things with men. But for what's so interesting, and this is where we tap into some of our purpose and our passion, because for me, my relationships with men have been dynamically transformational. And through those experiences, that's how I got to know myself best. That's how I got to tap into more like who I am and who I want to be. So when we talk about it, this book about loving men more, what's really underneath it, it's like, here's the big like, secret underneath all this. It's really for women, it's women's empowerment. It's really about empowering yourself as a woman into a space of personal leadership, right? Because we keep talking about this consciousness piece. So that's what it is. So through those experiences for me, I tapped into a way to empower myself, to lead myself differently. And through that, it's like, okay, so I can embrace men. I can be so grateful for them. I can appreciate exactly who they are and how they're showing up and functioning with them in a different way, with allowance, with collaboration, as an ally, not as this, there's an opposite sex. They're not. I mean, you guys are very different, but you're not like opposite. You're just other. You're just different. So.
No doubt about it. Men and women are very different, and I think neither sex really understands the other sex very well. And I think your book, what it does, I really think it's really bringing the sexes together in a lot of ways, which I think is truly inspiring. So well done for that. Now tell us a little bit about some of the challenges. I mean, again, people watching this are in this process of writing and getting published and being successful as authors. What are some of the challenges you faced writing it, and how did you overcome them?
So I think people write differently, right? Like some people are very structured and focused, and some people aren't. I'm more of the latter, because I never set out. I didn't say, oh, I want to write a book. Now I'm in a place where, oh, I want to write a book. Like there's 2 other books that I would like to write. But with this one, it was more of the self-inquiry. I'm like, okay, so I've been through all these experiences. This was like 10 years ago. Like what is this all about? Like, what's the purpose of all this? And this just kind of overwhelming, I want to use the word insidious creation appeared, and the book came through. So it was me questioning, and I have good writing skills and I love writing, but it was that combination of just this stream of consciousness that came through. And then I also think I'm maybe not lucky, but one of my skill sets is branding and marketing. So I have some experience in that. So for the layout and the framework, it came through in an easier way for me. But here's the thing, the book sat for, I feel like 9 or 10 years. Wow. I went to a big publisher in the beginning. I had a connection. I live in San Francisco. I actually had a connection to a big publishing house. I went straight to the top and had a meeting with her, and they actually really liked it. She was like, oh, I love this. But at the time, she was like, I don't know where to put it. I don't know what genre to put this in. I don't know if I should put this as like a cute dating book or personal memoir. And so 10 years later, I'm so grateful that we didn't go either route with that, because the book has evolved. So sometimes I know some of us get frustrated with, oh, like I'm not getting this done, or it's sitting. It's like the willingness to let something sit and ask more questions for me, and actually for the world, because now it's this beautiful book of healing and inspiration and tools and empowerment. It wouldn't have been that 9 years ago. Coming forward, in that time, I was invited to write chapters in 3 other books, right? That gave me more experience. And I just needed to, I think, grow and have this space to be able to talk about this book and invite people to what's possible now. So now, to round that out, I'm not going with a big publisher, and I'm also not self-publishing. So what occurred is that, call it a hybrid publisher, came to me, and they help, just like you help people, they're maybe very similar, and they were there to help. They could help you write from inception to publication. And they were thrilled because I didn't need inception. I was like 90% there, but to kind of just revisit it all, had to go back and revisit all these stories and really bring it all together. in today's environment, right, with Me Too and all these other things that are happening, and where I am today. And it made it into something that is so much bigger than what it ever could have been before. And they're experts, so I don't need to know, thank goodness, I don't need to learn all of these ins and outs about self-publishing, which I didn't want to do, right? Like, they're going to take care of all that. And so that, for me, that's what works for me. So you have to look at where you are, what you want to learn, where you want to put your energy, what's going to work for you in this situation.
Wonderful. So the question has to be asked, what genre is it sitting in now?
Well, we haven't quite, we get to pick 3, right? Because so it'll be on Amazon, it'll be an ebook, it'll be a soft cover. So we have to, that's actually, we're not quite there yet. We'll have to sit and look at it because it could be so many things. Consider it.
Self-help?
Yes, self-help, but it's narrative nonfiction. So I have to look at that. Women's empowerment, maybe relationships, maybe, who knows, something with gender equality, I mean, which would be, I never would have thought that, but it really does lend itself to that. So we're not quite there yet. We have a little ways to go before we...
Or wherever it sits, it's going to be incredibly successful. So, Danna, if you're going to give these guys that are watching right now, give them some advice, in terms of, your journey, obviously, the challenges you've overcome, the career you've come out of, now living this life, and now your book and writing your book. What would be that advice for aspiring successful authors?
Like, choose what you love. Like, write about what you love. What you love. I mean, I loved writing about those things. I loved writing those stories. And in the other 3 books that I wrote chapters in, they were all inspired, honestly, by my last relationship that I was in for 4 years. And one chapter was on, they were all consciousness books. One was on receiving, one was on creativity, and one was on relationships. So write what you love and write, and don't worry about it being messy. I mean, I am such a perfectionist about things, but I let myself just write. You can always go back and adjust and edit, and you can do all that stuff. But if you can't see it, you can't do anything with it. So just let it come out. And I think for some people, it's easier to schedule that, and for other people, it's like easier. You got it. So my point being, follow your energy. I'm more of a person that works in waves, and I know that. So I couldn't schedule something every single day, or it would actually stop me. But other people work really well with that. I work better, and I work a little bit different way. So follow your energy patterns. Write about what you love. Ask people that have already done this, how they've done it. Learn about the different ways that you can publish.
Great advice. And I mean, that's what I tell this to people all the time, is to stop, let go of perfection and just get something out. And that follows with talk about what you love, because if you're writing about what you love, it's going to come from your heart and it's going to flow. When you're trying to write something that you don't love and you're trying to make it intellectual, that's the problem. And I think that's a problem where a lot of people deal with writer's block, and they find it hard getting into a flow. So I think that is wonderful advice. So make sure you write about what you love, or at least love where it's heading and what it will do for people when they read it. And I think if you can love the journey, love the process, love what you're creating, then that'll obviously make a big difference.
Yeah, and I think people, you can surprise yourself, because again, like, I wasn't quite sure where this book was gonna land, and we're still not sure what's happening, but allowing myself to write it all and then go back, like rereading it, letting other people read it and provide feedback has given us the big vision of, like, oh, it can do this in the world, and it can do this in the world, and oh my God, I would love for it to do this bigger thing in the world. But you can't do that if you don't have it, right? So, like, write and let share it with people. I think one of the most kind of awkward, fulfilling, and like exciting things I did was read a chapter out loud to my publishing coach, right? Like that was huge. I'm like, here, I'm reading this chapter, and I think he didn't know this, but like the chapter that he chose, he's like, oh, read this chapter, like because this book is very intimate and vulnerable. It was the steamiest chapter in the book. I'm like, oh my God, this is the chapter I'm reading. But it really it changed me, and being willing to sit there and read this chapter to him, hear him. He was laughing. At one point, he actually was tearing up and crying. I mean, he was so engaged. So that was an amazing exercise. So I invite you to do that.
That's a really good piece of advice. Good one. Wow, we've got some gems. Danna, thank you so much. Now, if people want to contact you, get their hands on your book, or maybe talk to you about coaching or find out more about some of the stuff you do, what's the best way for them to contact you?
Everything is available on my website. That's the easiest way. You can see the radio show. You can all about the book, all about the coaching. So www.dannalewis.com. So it's DANNALEWIS.com. And everything is just laid out there.
Okay, so it's easy to contact you through the website. Beautiful. Well, it's been wonderful chatting, and I really appreciate your time. I know you're a busy, busy lady and doing wonderful things and inspiring the world. So I really value the fact you've invested 15, 20 minutes with us today, and look forward to hearing more about your incredible journey. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Andrew. I appreciate it. And thank you for everyone, all of your audience, your people. I wish them the best of luck with their writing.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. See you then.